Governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. And whatever form of government becomes destructive to these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish. Now, I always get a great kick out of that part of the Declaration of Independence. Now, you're not going to have a country that can make these kind of rules work if you haven't got men that have learned to tell human rights from a punch in the nose. It's a funny thing about men, you know. They all start life being boys. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if some of these senators here were boys once. That's why it seemed like a pretty good idea to me to get the boys out of the crowded cities and stuffy basements for a couple months out of the year and build their bodies and minds for man-sized jobs. Because these boys are going to be behind these desks some of these days. And it seemed like a pretty good idea. Getting boys from all over the country, boys of all nationalities and ways of living. Getting them together. Let them find out what makes the different people tick the way they do. Because I wouldn't give you 2 cents for all your fancy rules if behind them they didn't have a little bit of plain, ordinary, everyday kindness. And a little looking out for the other fella, too. That's pretty important, all that. It's just the blood and bone and sinew of this democracy that some great men handed down to the human race. That's all. But of course, if you got to build a dam where the boys' camp ought to be to get some graft to pay off some political army or something, well, that's a different thing. No. You think I'm going to go back there and tell those boys in my state and say, look now, fellas, forget about it. Forget about all this stuff I've been telling you about this land that you live in. It's a lot of hooey. This isn't your country. It belongs to a lot of James Taylors. Not me. Anybody here thinks that I'm going to do that, well, they got nothing coming. But hey, that's right. I just wanted to find out whether you still had faces. I'm sorry, gentlemen. I know I'm being disrespectful to the honorable body. I know that. A guy like me should never be allowed to get in here in the first place. I know that. And I hate to stand here and try your patience like this, but either I'm dead right or I'm crazy.